Happy Wednesday, folks, and welcome to episode 416 of #AskGSM here today for Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week. Today is actually my dad's birthday, so happy birthday to him. But nonetheless, it's been a very busy week, month, really year in general. But the last couple of weeks have been crazy between Full Gear last weekend. We've got Survivor Series coming up this weekend. I wasn't at Full Gear. I was at All Out and had an amazing time. I'll actually very likely be at Survivor Series this weekend. I'm still not sure. I know we're 4 days out, but I'm not 100% sure. And until I get the tickets, I don't know if I'll be there or not. I am currently planning on being at Survivor Series this Sunday. I'll probably be at SmackDown on Friday in Hartford as well. So 2 shows on the docket. I was at the big event, which was a complete fucking shit show on Sunday in New York City. In East Elmhurst specifically. I got Bryan Danielson's signature on my replica Intercontinental Championship, so it was worth it for that. The entire experience, though, aside from that, was a complete fucking nightmare. I talked about it on Twitter the other day, and I'll probably, hopefully, if I can get the audio from Spaces on Twitter, I'll probably put it here on the channel at some point. But that was a nightmare. But yeah, it's been a wild last couple of weeks, months, year in general, like I said. I'm coming here to the channel this week. So I did a bunch of interviews, non-wrestling related, but with the stars of Psych. Psych 3, This Is Gus, dropping this Thursday on Peacock. I got the chance to talk to Jules, a.k.a. Maggie Lawson from the show. James Roday, the star himself, Sean Spencer. Both were a lot of fun. 2 great interviews there. I got the chance to talk to the executive producers, Steve Franks, Chris Hens. I had a chance to talk to Alan Maldonado, the lead heel, so to speak, in the show. He was actually on the show Heels as well, as Robin Rooster, whatever his name was in that show. He was really cool. I think his name's Alan Decker in the movie. And as well as Corbin Burnson, who plays the dad, Henry Spencer, in the Psych show and the Psych movie. So all great interviews. Had a lot of fun talking to all 6 of those people. Those should be up soon, very soon. I think they were all video except for the Corbin Burnson one. That was over the phone yesterday. So those should be up relatively soon, the new movie dropping tomorrow. As you probably already saw, I had the chance to talk to Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche, the voices of Pinky and the Brain, Yakko Warner, fucking Carl Weezer, among many other iconic characters. That was a lot of fun. That dropped here on Monday. I recorded the interview like 3 weeks ago, talking season 2 of the Animaniacs on Hulu, and they could not have been cooler. So check that out if you have not yet gotten a chance. Especially if you're in my age bracket too and you grew up in the same shows that I did, then you'll probably enjoy that as much as I did. And then wrestling-related interviews. Last week we had Booker T drop here on the channel, QT Marshall, I believe the week before that. My timeline's completely off. We had Michael Kingston of Headlock Comic. That dropped last week as well. He was super cool. I got more interviews lined up going forward, but already in the can, my interview with Drew McIntyre. We got him for another round. That article is going to be going up this week. I don't know what day that's going to be dropping here on the channel. Probably tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Very likely, so keep an eye out for that. And then dropping on Friday for certain, and an article for Bleacher Report, the man herself, the Raw Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. My first time talking to the man. I'm really looking forward to that. That's actually coming up in a couple hours from when I speak right now. So that should be dropping here on the channel on Friday. So again, a lot of interviews, a lot of other content. If I'm at SmackDown, if I'm at Survivor Series, I will try to take as many live reactions as possible, so keep an eye out for that as well. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So we'll get started here first with Noel from Facebook. Not really much of a question, more of a statement, but I will read it anyway. They said, at this point, the only match on Sunday anyone cares about is Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Everything else is an afterthought. We got a lot of questions about Survivor Series last week, this week. Is the build among the worst of all time? Absolutely. The build for this pay-per-view has been downright deplorable. It was nearly non-existent up until like a week ago when they started announcing the members of Team Raw and Team SmackDown. So I agree with you there. Again, not really much of a question, but I do agree that everything else on the card. Big E and Roman, I am very excited for. The first ever, I believe, one-on-one encounter between those two that has some bad blood behind it, dating back to earlier this year, or a couple of months ago anyway. So I'm looking forward to Big E and Roman. I'm very much looking forward to Charlotte and Becky just because it's a match we've seen before. We know they work well together, but more so with like the recent tension and whatever that we heard about, whether it's true or not. It should be a very interesting affair to say the least. So I'm looking forward to those two matches. RK Bro and the Usos should be a great match. The build has been complete garbage. Like even Nakamura and Priest I think will be a great match. We got a lot of fresh matches on Sunday. It's just that the build has been completely fucking terrible, and there's no stakes, so it's hard to care. John Ritland from the Twitter machine and from YouTube. It's at Reborn Again on Twitter. Check out a show here on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Ritland. He does great work. Closing out the year with a lot of videos, by the way. If you're not already subscribed to John, definitely do so. He's putting out a lot of content every single day. The guy works his fucking ass off, so be sure to check him out. His first question was, so where would you rank the AEW Full Gear show as far as AEW pay-per-views go? I feel that while it had a few issues and a couple of matches went long, it mostly delivered and in some cases over-delivered. So I wouldn't go so far as to say, and I'm probably biased, I would not say Full Gear was their best pay-per-view yet. All Out was probably long too. The difference with All Out for me was that I was at All Out. So the excitement, I mean, I've been to a lot of WrestleManias and shows like that for WWE, and as great as those shows were, even those felt long. Like by the end, I'm about to fall the fuck asleep. Especially if it's here on the East Coast. So I totally understand that. But I don't know, just being it All Out, it never felt long. All the matches delivered, I believe from what I can recall, all the right booking decisions were made. A lot of great matches. We got a lot of great matches at Full Gear as well. I don't know, a better main event, but the undercard I thought was better for All Out. And then I thought the booking decisions were better for All Out. But for this show, it had a better build. So it goes back and forth. If you were to say Full Gear was the best pay-per-view they've done to date, I wouldn't argue with you. I prefer All Out. And again, I'm biased because I was there to see Cole's debut and Danielson's debut and whatever else. So I thought that was an amazing show. That really felt like a turning point for AEW. This kind of maintained the momentum they've already had for the last couple of months, in my opinion. Where else does it rank? I thought Revolution last year was an amazing show. To me, the top 3 AEW pay-per-views, I would really have to go back and watch Revolution, but I would say All Out this year, Full Gear this year, as 1 and 2, respectively, and then Revolution 2020 is number 3. Like, I'm not even including Double or Nothing 2019. I was at that show. That was their first pay-per-view, and that's not even in the top 3. So the thing with AEW pay-per-views, a lot like the takeovers and the Marvel movies and stuff like that, every pay-per-view they've done has been good to great to amazing. So it's hard to rank them as far as like, oh, this was the best one. Like, I liked Double or Nothing this year a lot. Honestly, I'd probably put that at number 4. I thought that was one of the best pay-per-views they've done to date as well. At the time I said that. That would be high up there. It's hard to say, like, a lot of the pandemic pay-per-views didn't have fans. Like, I thought All Out would easily be the worst for 2020. I did not love that show at all. I mean, by AEW standards, it was a weak show. By any other WWE standards, it was probably a better show. But by AEW standards, it wasn't great. So for Full Gear, I would probably put it at number 2. I would really have to think about it, but off the top of my head, and I have thought about it a little bit, I would put Full Gear at 2 for this year. I would put, and Full Gear last year was a great show as well. I would put All Out 2021 at number 1, and then very likely Revolution 2020 number 3. John's second question. So has the build to Survivor Series really been atrocious, or merely atrocious? I get that the build to get Crown Jewel, I get that they had to get Crown Jewel out of the way, but the build for this event has been super lazy. Hey, you don't got to tell me twice. I have been saying for weeks, long before anyone else was even saying anything on Twitter, where the fuck is the build for Survivor Series? Like, coming out of Crown Jewel, they had 2 or 3 episodes of Raw and SmackDown where the show was not even mentioned once. Like, I'm not even kidding. I thought the show got canceled. They did not acknowledge it once. And they only started to put the card together a week ago. And the pay-per-view is this Sunday. And for a Big 4 pay-per-view, which, let's face it really hasn't been in a long time, that's disgusting, it's inexcusable, it's stupid. So yeah, the build has been awful. Like I said earlier, one of the worst builds in Survivor Series history. The only thing I can remember coming close to being as bad was, I think, 2010. 2010 had a fucking awful build. And they literally put the card together, I think, again, the week or 2 before. Because I think they almost canceled Survivor Series in 2010. I think it was off the pay-per-view calendar for a while because the buy rate for 09 was so bad. The buy rate for 09 was so bad because I think they did like Cena, Shawn, and Triple H in a match, and then Taker, Jericho, and Big Show, and again, the build for that show wasn't great. So then they're like, let's just not do Survivor Series. I think Vince outright said, we're going to cancel Survivor Series. And then they brought it back and ended up doing the show. But because they didn't know they were doing it until so late in the game, like the elimination match was literally made, I remember watching like the build for it, was literally made official on like the Raw before the pay-per-view. They did Cena, or no, it wasn't Cena, it was Orton and Barrett if Cena lost, or Cena was like the referee, and if Orton won, then Cena was fired. If Barrett won, then Cena was free from the Nexus. The build to that was pretty well done, but like they had Edge versus Kane, like who gave a shit? Like, and the match wasn't that good anyway. I remember Dolph Ziggler and Caval on that show for the Intercontinental Championship having a pretty good match. But again, the match was made at like the last second. Natalya and Laycool, I think, was made at the last second as well. So the build was completely awful. I think this one might be worse because we're supposed to care about the brand supremacy, and they've done absolutely nothing to get that going. So I can't really say I'm overly surprised with how they've built or not built the pay-per-view this year. But at any rate, it is what it is. The show is, it might exceed expectations from an in-ring standpoint, but I completely agree. The build itself has been one of the worst ever, no doubt. John's third question here, non-wrestling related, but did you get a chance to see either Red Notice with The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot? Is that how you pronounce your last name? I always thought it was Gadot, like how it's, phonetically spelled, but I'm pretty sure it's Gadot, G-A-D-O-T, but anyway. That movie or Home Sweet Home Alone? If so, what were your thoughts? I have not had a chance to see either yet. I'm probably going to see Red Notice at some point. I have Netflix. I love The Rock. I will watch any of The Rock's movies. I'm a fucking homer for The Rock. I'm a rock mark, all right? Doesn't matter what it is for the most part. I think I have seen almost every movie he has been in for the last 5 or 6 years. I haven't seen every Rock movie, period. And we're going to talk more about Rock movies in a moment. But I think I've seen, we'll look at his filmography soon enough because I got a question about like what the best and worst Rock movies were. And it's appropriate today because today marks the 25th anniversary of The Rock in WWE. Not only Survivor Series this Sunday, but like today itself, November 17th, 1996, was the debut of the Great One at Survivor Series. But at any rate, so I haven't seen Red Notice yet. I probably will. It's been a wild month. Couple of weeks, like I said, a lot of stuff going on. I just haven't really had a chance to sit down and really watch anything. Like I saw Eternals last week, but that's kind of the stuff I kind of keep up on. There's been a lot of big movies that have come out as well. I saw Halloween Kills. I saw The Addams Family. I saw the 007 movie. I saw Eternals recently. There was another one I saw that came out. Venom I saw in early October. Those were the big ones. I thought I had seen something else. I saw Ghostbusters in theaters on Halloween itself. That was a total last-minute thing. I thought I saw something else recently too, but yeah, it's been a very busy month, so I'll probably get a chance to watch it at some point soon. As for Home Sweet Home Alone, I saw the trailer. It looked absolutely abysmal. So I may just watch it with Alexis to make fun of it. I don't know if you saw it, John. If it's on Disney Plus, which I have, I may watch it closer to Christmas if it's supposed to be a Christmas movie. I know that some of the original stars make appearances. That's not a spoiler. I think that was already announced. I might watch it for that. But like I saw the fourth one they did. I guess they made a fifth one and I just wasn't aware of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know they made that third one that wasn't even Kevin McAllister, I don't think. I think it was a totally different boy. That movie was not that good. The fourth one was fucking terrible. And that one was supposed to be Kevin McAllister, but none of the original cast returned for it. The movie just was not good. So I might watch Home Sweet Home Alone just to see what it's all about and see how bad it actually is. But like I said, probably closer to Christmas. I know it's November 17th, but I like to watch my Christmas movies after Thanksgiving. I made that quite clear here on the show in years past. At Supersonic X 1991 from Twitter, their first question: what are your thoughts on these surprise announcements from Disney Plus Day, and what are you looking forward to the most? I'm looking forward to Prey, more content from the MCU, X-Men 97, and Proud Family, Prouder and Louder, just for nostalgia. Of everything you mentioned, honestly, I'm probably more excited for Proud Family. I don't think I'll sit there and watch every episode, but I was a big fan of the original series. I grew up on Proud Family and Disney Channel. I watched a lot of the episodes, I'm sure. And I don't think the original cast is coming back for it. The dad sounded similar. I don't think it's the dad, but the dad sounded exactly the same from what he did 15, 20 years ago. I may check out an episode or two of that. The other Disney stuff, I didn't see all the Disney announcements. I just kind of paid attention to the Marvel stuff. Pretty basic stuff, honestly. It wasn't any major announcements. It was stuff that was already announced like a year ago. We just got more of a look at it. Like, for example, She-Hulk, I think, was announced a year ago. And they just gave us like a 30-second trailer for that one. Moon Knight, they gave a trailer for that, like a 30-second trailer. That looks interesting. All that stuff, I'm pretty sure, was already set in stone a year ago. The Groot show or whatever it was, I'm looking forward to that whenever that drops. The Spider-Man animated show sounds cool. The X-Men animated show sounds cool. I didn't follow the original X-Men show, so I probably won't watch the new one or the renewal of the old one or whatever it's called, but that's still pretty cool. The Spider-Man one, if it has to do with MCU, and it's like canon technically, which I guess they all are, I might watch it and check it out. What If Season 2 I'm looking forward to. I saw the Agatha Harkness show announced. That's pretty cool. I enjoyed her character a lot on WandaVision, so it's not exactly like a necessary show by any means. But I don't know what other role you bring her back in future installments of the MCU. So giving her own, like, one-season show, I have no issue with that. And she's great. Catherine Hahn is awesome, so I have no issue with that whatsoever. His next question, with Survivor Series marking the 25th anniversary of The Rock, I'm wondering what The Rock's best and worst movies are. I got to go with Scorpion King and Gridiron Gang as his best movies, and for his worst movies, Doom and Rampage. All right, so not bad choices there. I didn't see Doom. I saw Rampage. Honestly, I enjoyed Rampage. Rock has been in a lot of movies. I don't think I would go so far as to say Rampage was by far the worst. Not even close. I actually really enjoyed Rampage, and maybe I'm just being a mark for the original game. I grew up on that original game on the N64. I don't know. I enjoyed the movie. I thought he did a good job. They got the monsters in there. I don't know how accurate it was to the actual game, but I really liked Rampage, actually. That was a guilty pleasure of mine. Scorpion King's a classic, and Gridiron Gang, I don't think I saw that one. I think I saw The Rundown when I was in college a few years ago. That was before my Rock time. I don't know if I've seen Gridiron Gang, but I've heard that was a good one too. So like I said earlier, I have pulled up The Rock's filmography, and we're going to go through maybe not every single movie here, but like at least the ones that I've seen as far as like what his best ones would be. Obviously, Beyond the Map, I wouldn't really count that. He was in the documentary, but I guess that's on his filmography. The Mummy Returns, which is when, that's where he played the Scorpion King for like 2 seconds. I love the Mummy movies, except for, I don't know if I really saw number 3. The first 2 were great, though. Scorpion King's a great movie. The Rundown, I think I said I saw. Either that or Walking Tall. Either way, it was good. Long Shot, I did not see. Be Cool, Doom, like I said, did not see. Southland Tales, Gridiron Gang, didn't see either one. Those were from 06. I saw the Game Plan, so I think I actually wanted to go see something else. It was like around Christmas, and I wanted to see it with my friends or whatever. And what other movie? There was another movie I wanted to see that day, and it was sold out or whatever. Maybe it wasn't appropriate. I don't fucking know. But I saw the Game Plan with my friends, and it was like typical Disney movie, but he was in that phase where he was doing the Disney stuff. So I saw Game Plan, I saw The Tooth Fairy. Those would probably, I don't know if they would be the worst. I don't think I saw Race to Witch Mountain. I saw Get Smart. I did see that. Not exactly his best movies, but I would put those below Rampage personally. That's just me. The other guys I've seen, I just don't remember it all that well. I know he really got big in like Fast 5 and Fast 6 and whatever, Fast and Furious 6. I didn't see those movies. I think I've seen clips of them. Those would probably be among his best, from what I understand. I've heard that those were like the peak Fast movies. So I haven't seen them. I wouldn't go so far as to say they're his best because I haven't seen them, but those were good. So this was where I started to get more into the Rock's movies and see a lot of the stuff that he was in. I have not seen Pain and Gain. I think they just added that to Hulu, so I might watch that at some point. I remember that came out around the time that WrestleMania was happening. Snitch, G.I. Joe, Retaliation. Didn't see any of those. But I did see Hercules. I enjoyed Hercules. Hercules was a good one. Furious 7 I did see. That was a good movie. San Andreas was ridiculous, but I enjoyed the movie. It is incredibly stupid. It's so fucking dumb. Like, if you watch the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, especially with the ending, though. It's the most ridiculous movie, but I liked his role in it. I like Alexander Daddario. I don't know. I like the movie. I enjoyed it. I actually, that's a guilty pleasure of mine as well. I love Central Intelligence. That might be one of my favorite Rock movies. Him and Kevin Hart have fantastic chemistry. So Central Intelligence I would put up there as among his best. Moana is probably the best, if not one of the best. I didn't see it. Again, it's hard to say that it's the best, but from what I've been told, my family saw it with my sister, who was like a couple of years old at that point. I haven't seen it myself. I know it's on Disney Plus. I have no excuse to not watch it, but from what I understand, it got critical reviews. People love it, so it would probably be among his best. I saw The Fate of the Furious. I wouldn't go far as to say that was a Rock movie. He wasn't like a lead role or anything. I did see that year Baywatch and Jumanji. Baywatch, of the recent Rock movies I have seen, was probably the weakest. That movie sucked. And Alexander Daddario was in that one as well. I don't know. I mean, maybe just because I didn't watch the original show or whatever, but that movie, even with Zac Efron, who I like, was just not good at all. It was not good. Jumanji, I would put up there as one of the best. Jumanji was a fantastic movie. And I was skeptical because it's a remake and it wasn't really necessary. I honestly enjoyed the remake way more than the original. So that to me might be The Rock's best movie, was Jumanji and Central Intelligence in recent years. Again, like I said, Rampage I enjoyed. Skyscraper was fucking ridiculous. I haven't seen it since, but I did see Skyscraper. I think I have it on DVD. I got to rewatch it at some point, but yeah, I don't know if I would. That's definitely not among his best. It's like a more ridiculous version of Die Hard, and I love Die Hard, but Skyscraper is definitely not Die Hard. In 2019, we had Fighting with My Family. Wasn't exactly a Rock movie. I very much enjoyed that movie, but it wasn't really a Rock movie, although he did make it. Hobbs and Shaw I liked. I liked Jumanji 2, The Next Level. Not nearly as good as the original, but still a good movie. Hobbs and Shaw was pretty good. Jungle Cruise I saw this year. Loved Jungle Cruise, honestly. I wasn't a big fan of the original ride, but I did enjoy the movie a lot, and I haven't seen the other stuff yet. So for me, my favorite Rock movies would be Central Intelligence. I enjoyed Hercules. Probably Central Intelligence and Jumanji from 2017. And then Scorpion King would probably be that would probably be my top three. San Andreas I enjoyed, but it definitely was not among his best. Worst, probably the Disney stuff. Just, I don't know if I would rewatch that. It just wasn't that good. Baywatch kind of sucked. Skyscraper kind of sucked. Both movies were just too ridiculous for me personally. And then there's a bunch of other stuff early on that I haven't seen that was probably pretty bad as well. But yeah, those are my favorite and least favorite Rock movies. And maybe I'll rewatch one today. I try to watch a Rock movie every Rock birthday or anniversary or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of Rock movies that are just fun to put on and make fun of because they're so fucking dumb. Specifically San Andreas. I cannot stress enough how ridiculous that movie is. But I love making fun of it, though. It is good for that, definitely. No arguments from there. No arguments for me on that. Let's go to the next question here. Also from Supersonic X 1991. After seeing a clip of you interviewing Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche yesterday, are you planning on interviewing more voice actors in 2022? If the opportunity presents itself, I will. I was actually approached with that opportunity to talk to Rob and Maurice about a month ago to promote the second season of Animaniacs. So it wasn't something I kind of went out of my way to seek, but I'm really glad the opportunity did happen. I actually kind of not fight for it, but they told me no initially. I guess because they reached their capacity on the press stuff. I don't know. But then they eventually came back to me and said, hey, yeah, we can probably get you in here. And it ended up happening. And we only had like 10 minutes. The interview's not that long. But I thoroughly enjoyed our time. I had no idea until like the day or two before I was going to interview him that Rob was Experiment 625, a.k.a. Ruben, from the Stitch Show, the Lilo and Stitch Show on Disney Channel like 15 years ago, which was like my favorite show growing up. So I love that. I mean, to talk to him and get him to do the voice was great. He was also Carl Weezer, which was hilarious. I had no idea those were the same person. Voice actors are like the coolest fucking people, but I would love to talk to more voice actors because they were awesome, and I would love to get that opportunity again. So we'll see. It's not something I'm exactly seeking out. There's some interviews I like ask about or chase specifically. Some I just get approached with, and I'm like, absolutely. I rarely say no to stuff if I can do it. And that was one of them. I'm very glad that that opportunity presented itself because it was a lot of fun, and they were two great guys. Very much enjoyed my time with them. Supersonic X 1991's last question here. Thoughts on the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer? Will this be the finale for Tom Holland's Spider-Man character? And which Spider-Man character should be in future Spider-Man movies? I want to see Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, and Black Cat as part of the MCU. So I don't really know about like other Spider-Man characters in the Spider-Man movies. Not too sure about that. Just because I don't closely follow like the comics and stuff. Gwen Stacy would be nice. Miles Morales I think would be awesome. I love the Spider-Verse movie. Loved it. So if they can have like a real life adaptation of that character in the MCU, That would be fucking cool. And they already planted the seeds in that first Spider-Man Homecoming movie a number of years ago. So the building blocks are there for that to happen at some point if they wanted to go in that direction. The trailer itself I watched last night during NXT. Awesome trailer. Got me even more hyped than I was before. Probably the most hyped I've been for a Marvel movie ever aside from Endgame. And Infinity War too. Both of them were amazing. And Guardians, so there's a couple of them. But yeah, the No Way Home trailer was awesome. I'm looking forward to it. They showed a lot of stuff. They showed all the villains. Still, like, people were surprised or disappointed. Like, oh, there's no Toby or Andrew. Why the fuck would they blow their load in the trailer? Like, how dumb do you have to be to actually expect those guys to show up in the trailer? You're already sold on the movie. You're already buying your ticket. Seeing those guys in the trailer is not going to make you go from, oh, I'm not going to go see it, to then buying a ticket. It would if you weren't sold on seeing the movie. But from what I understand, 95%, if not more, of the MCU fan base, Marvel fans, whatever, were already going to see that movie anyway. It's not like it's fucking the Eternals or something. No one really gives a shit about it. And then you see the trailer, and then Thanos shows up, or like those Spider-Men show up in the movie. It's like, well, now I gotta go see it. Absolutely. That never happened, and nor did they show up. Why would they? But like, you're already sold on Spider-Man No Way Home. So why would you need them in the trailer? But aside from that, though, I love the trailer itself. It was great. And yeah, will this be Tom Holland's finale for Spider-Man? I don't know. I heard that he was signed up for like one more big multi-man movie, like an Avengers type thing, in addition to this. So I don't think it will be his finale. It feels like it. I think they were calling it in interviews like the end game of Spider-Man. So it very well could be, and it would be interesting if they did go in that direction. Maybe they'll pass it on to a different actor. I don't know. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I do. I thought Tobey was a better Peter Parker, but Tom Holland Spider-Man, no. And I think Tom Holland is a better Peter Parker. I think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is a better Spider-Man than Tom Holland's, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I think the finale for Tom Holland, yeah, it very well could be. I'm not getting that sense quite yet, despite what they've said. I still think they'll hold out for one more movie with him. But if this is it for him, it's a hell of a way to go out, based on what I've heard and seen so far. At J. Alex Ferrans, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. It's been a while since Jared sent in the question, so I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. But his question was, how would you rank the Paul Heyman guys that have been in the WWE and the runs they've had with Heyman from best to Heidenreich? So shout out to Sportskeeda. I looked at their article. I typed in, because I completely forget who are the Paul Heyman guys in WWE. I know the obvious ones, the ones from recent years, and even with like Brock, obviously. Like dating back for the last decade. But I'm thinking like, okay, what about early on in WWE, like the mid-2000s? I think I knew of everyone on the list. I forgot about Heidenreich completely. So when you said he was a Paul Heyman guy, I completely forgot about that. And it depends what you are talking about specifically. So what I went off of, I don't know if he ever did he manage Heidenreich on TV? I guess he did, but I don't remember that. Heidenreich and Matt Morgan, too, I had no idea, or maybe if I did, I just completely forgot, that they were quote-unquote Paul Heyman guys. I didn't include, like, they had Rey Mysterio on their list because he had a big influence on Rey and ECW and whatnot, The Miz as well. They were never paired off with Paul on WWE TV. So when I think of a Paul Heyman guy, or like a Steve Austin, for example, they were never paired off on WWE TV, so I'm not going to include those guys here. I'm just going with the people that he managed on WWE TV. If that's not what you meant, I apologize. But I'm going off the Paul Heyman guys that we saw on WWE TV. So from worst, or you said from best to Heidenreich. So the best would obviously be Brock. I mean, obviously not even a question. Brock would be 1, CM Punk 2. And the cool thing about the Punk pairing was that Punk didn't need a mouthpiece, but they worked just so well together that it was like such an awesome pairing. It went together so easily. And Punk was already a great talker. Again, he didn't need Heyman to do the talking for him. But a lot like Roman. Roman's an awesome talker at this point. He doesn't need Heyman doing the talking for him. But Heyman adds a lot to the act and the presentation. A lot like he did with Punk when Punk was WWE Champion for over a year. So they had a great thing going. I love that. Lesnar, then Punk. I would probably put RVD after that because I don't know how often he was actually managing RVD on WWE TV. But, they were together a little bit in 2006 before Paul Heyman turned on him. And under Paul Heyman's watch on the show, being a Paul Heyman guy, he was both the WWE and ECW champion. So he had a lot of success for the short time that he was a Heyman guy on TV. So I would probably go with RVD at number 3. 4, Big Show, the person who then beat RVD for the WWE Championship. I don't know how much of a Paul Heyman guy Big Show was in like late 02, early 03. I think it was Heyman just turning on Brock, right? It wasn't really Heyman managing Big Show. I don't really remember Heyman and Big Show being paired off a lot in late 02, early 03, but I could be wrong. I'm talking more about actually with Heyman's help, Big Show became WWE Champion at Survivor Series 02, which would have been 19 years ago today, which an amazing pay-per-view. And then, what was I thinking? That was in 02. So then again in 06, he beat RVD for the ECW Championship when RVD got suspended. They had to put the belt on Big Show, and then Heyman helped him with that on TV as well. So Big Show would be 4. 5 would be Curtis Axel. I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but under Heyman's tutelage, he did become the Intercontinental Championship. He did become the Intercontinental Champion and hold the belt for like 5 months. And that was because of Paul Heyman. He got his name changed. He had the biggest push of his career at that point. He was involved in the Punk program, and I don't know if he ever actually beat Punk, but maybe in a handicap match. I don't think he ever actually pinned Punk himself. But he did interact with a lot of the big stars and Danielson and Punk and people like that. So Axel would be number 5 because he was Intercontinental Champion for a while. Cesaro would be 6. I enjoyed the pairing, but they had no success. I mean, they paired up the night after WrestleMania 30. I think Cesaro won the subsequent pay-per-view, beating RVD and Jack Swagger in a triple threat match while he was with Heyman. Then after that, he was almost off the show. He was on the show, not really doing anything. I think they were together for all of 3 months before they pulled the plug on it. So that was it for Cesaro and Heyman. They never really had a chance to get going as a pairing before they pulled the plug on it. That was that backfired completely. So Cesaro would be there. Even then, though, I enjoyed Cesaro and Heyman more than I did Ryback and Heyman. Ryback and Heyman lasted all of maybe 2 or 3 months. It served no purpose aside from building the more Punk and Ryback matches in late 2013 that no one gave a fuck about. Ryback, his push at that point was so far dead, no one gave a shit about him, that him being a Heyman guy was not going to salvage his career. So that was a total waste of time. Morgan even had less success. Morgan, I barely remember being with Heyman, and then Heidenreich was just terrible. So from best to worst, once again, Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, Rob Van Dam, Big Show, Curtis Axel, Cesaro, Ryback, Matt Morgan, and Heidenreich. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, their first question: while it's largely felt that MJF will be the one to beat Adam Page for the AEW World Championship next year, when that year, he's saying, do you expect him to do so? So when next year do I expect him to beat Adam Page for the championship? Revolution is a possibility. I would not do it that soon. I feel like that's in 2 or 3 months. At the very least, I don't think Adam Page has to have a year-long reign. Every AEW title reign has been longer than the last. And even Jericho's, the shortest reign is 6 months. And that's a long time. And Jericho is champion for a while. So I don't know if I would go that far, but he also should not be holding the championship for a month. I would have him beat someone at Revolution. They're probably going to do the Danielson match before then, which is totally fine. I expect that. But at Revolution, you can do, I don't know if I would do Jericho per se, but he has a win over Adam Page. You can go back to Kenny. You could do the rematch at Revolution. There's a couple of options. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I just feel like Revolution would be too soon. Double or Nothing is a possibility. Like you said, MJF, I think, should be the one to beat Adam Page for the championship. Double or Nothing would make sense. MJF's coming off a win over Darby Allin at Full Gear. Have him beat either Darby again at Revolution or someone else at Revolution, giving him enough momentum to take the belt from Page at Double or Nothing. That's what I would do. If not at Double or Nothing, then All Out, that would work as well. I feel like there's a lot of people Page can defend against, so to have him lose it anytime soon would be disappointing. To have Page lose it to Punk or Danielson, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have him lose it back to Kenny, obviously. Jericho, obviously not. But Mira is a possibility to challenge for the championship. You could build up a few other heels. Cody, I guess, can't really go for it, but you have Malachi Black, you have Andrade. Those are 2 possibilities. You can rekindle the Pac feud. I'll get to more of Page's feuds in a little bit, because someone else asked a question about that. But, yeah, I don't know. I would think Double or Nothing would be minimum. I feel like he should hold the championship for at least 5 or 6 months. 2 or 3 isn't terrible, and he is a babyface, so I would understand if they don't want to give him a long reign like they did with Moxley. I feel like Moxley probably would have dropped the championship sooner, too, if they were more fans, if they weren't in the midst of a pandemic. Excuse me. So, yeah, I would go with Double or Nothing personally. His second question, do you think that Kyle O'Reilly will let his contract expire and join AEW? He would be a moron if he didn't. If Kyle O'Reilly, as good as the money might be, which I don't think it is, in NXT, I know WWE is the dream. I don't know if Kyle O'Reilly ever went on the record and saying, oh, I've always wanted to work for WWE. I mean, I'm sure everyone has at one point. But he never screamed to me as being a WWE guy. Even before he went there, I always thought, I just didn't really see it. I like Kyle O'Reilly, but he's really coming to his own lately. But like I always thought he was a better fit with Bobby Fish or a group or something like that, which he was great in Undisputed Era. And he was good coming out of Undisputed Era until they completely fucked him and put him in a tag team with Von Wagner. That shit ain't going anywhere. I have no desire to see O'Reilly and Von Wagner as the tag team champions. They very well could be going there, going into the next War Games, takeover show, whatever the fuck you want to call it. No thanks. O'Reilly's already been tag team champion. How exactly is he benefiting from this? He should have been NXT champion by now, honestly. Like with the story they were telling with him, he should have been champion a while ago. He lost to Balor twice. They never went back to that. Balor got moved up to the main roster. Him and Cross, they never went back to that. He beat Adam Cole in Cole's Swan Song, and then it was on to nothing. And he was supposed to get a shot, remember, in that four-way on the first episode of NXT 2.0, and he got attacked by Dunn and Ridge Holland. And they never went back to that. He never got his rightful shot at the championship. So it's like, all right, where the fuck are we going with this? You know what I mean? So anyway, I feel like he'd be a moron to stay. I feel like he should leave, and he will leave. He's got to know there is no future for him, even more so than Cole. And Cole's a bigger star than O'Reilly. But at least Cole had some success. Like, he could have had some success on the main roster. O'Reilly, I don't even think he's getting called up. But even if he does, he's doomed. And if he stays in NXT, he's also doomed. He's not a Gargano where I feel like they see him as like this perennial mid-card, upper mid-card guy. O'Reilly's in a fucking tag team right now with Von Wagner. It doesn't get much worse than that. At least he's on the show. But still, that's pretty bad. So I would like to see his contract expire. I think it will expire, and I think he will join AEW. He's such good friends with Bobby and Adam Cole, I feel like he'd be an absolute moron to not go over there, rekindle that stable, and do something awesome with those guys. The possibilities are endless. And AEW's tag team division is awesome. And I think Kyle O'Reilly works as a tag team guy, just not with Von Wagner. That's the thing. His third question here, besides Jay Lethal now being all elite, which Ring of Honor talent would you like to see join AEW? So a couple of names off the top of my head, as other people have said. Danhausen. Not that he's like going to be world champion, but he's comic relief. Some people might not like that. You don't have to put him in the ring every week, but he's just too popular to stay in a company like Ring of Honor. Honestly, I think he's perfect for AEW. I know Jericho likes him a lot. I think a lot of people on the inside of AEW like Danhausen a lot. I'm a little surprised they didn't sign him before last year. I think he was still a free agent during the pandemic, and then Ring of Honor signed him officially late last year. But I guess they could have always signed him earlier than that, and they just didn't announce it until Final Battle. Who knows? But now that Ring of Honor is closing its doors, Danhausen and Ring of Honor would be awesome. So Danhausen, the Briscoes, I think would be perfect for that tag team division. Of course, a lot like with Lethal, and Lethal, hopefully I don't know if they did or not, because there was a lot of like the speaking out talk and whatever. I would hope that they really investigated that and made sure he was clean before bringing him in. Whether they did or not, because they have yet to really comment on that, I don't know if they have. The Briscoes, I don't think they were involved with the speaking out stuff, but Jay Briscoe specifically, maybe Mark too, was, on had the hot spot for a little bit there about 8-9 years ago when he tweeted something about like, oh, I won't let my daughter talk to gay people or something completely disgusting. Like, he had a lot of anti-gay views, I guess. And he might still do. I have no idea whether he still does. But Ring of Honor held on to him. They were probably going to go to WWE had he not gotten in trouble for that. And like, he was, to even feel that way is obviously terrible. But the guy was dumb enough to put that out in the public. You know what I mean? I know this is like in the early days of Twitter in 2012, 2013 or whatever. But he was still a fucking moron to have done that. And he cost himself a major opportunity in WWE because of that. And they've been great in Ring of Honor and whatnot. But it's time to move on. The AEW can get over that hurdle because I am sure if AEW were to bring him in, there would be a lot of animosity like, hey, these guys said this about gay. Like, there needs to be some sort of a, they can't be hiding away from that. That's some pretty serious stuff. They got to put out some sort of a statement, have him address it, apologize for it. He probably already has, but it's still a pretty big deal. They would have to overcome that hurdle, but if they can, the Briscoes in AEW in that tag team division would be cool. I would say Jonathan Gresham, but the thing with Gresham, I think he's starting his own promotion next year. I think I saw that in the news like a day or two ago. I don't know what that entails exactly, if it's like an indie promotion, if it's like a wrestling school, I have no idea. But to me, I think Gresham in AEW would be fucking awesome. Like, they can't sign everyone. I'm not saying sign the entire Ring of Honor roster, but there are a bunch of people on that show that they would like to see get a shot. Gresham being one of them, because him and Danielson is a match that I know Danielson wants. I know Gresham definitely wants that match, and I would love to see it. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a match I think would be very, very interesting to say the least. And I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be cool. Even if Gresham isn't with Ring of Honor, like even if he's not with AEW under a full-time contract, as a one-off, I think it'd be awesome. So hopefully at some point we get to see it. The OGK, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Matt Taven would get swallowed up in AEW. I mean, the guy would be on Dark for life. But in a tag team, same thing with Bennett. Bennett was a much bigger star a few years ago, like in 2016, 2017 when he was still in Impact. His stock is absolutely taking a nosedive since his WWE run. But they've done some good work together as a tag team in Ring of Honor. So bringing them in over to AEW as a tag team would be cool. I'm trying to think who else. Like a Rhett Titus, no thanks. Tracy Williams would be cool. He reminds me a lot of like Daniel Garcia. That would be an interesting pairing. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think who else is on the Ring of Honor. Like Bandito would be cool. Roosh. If they got paired with like Andrade, like Dragon Lee, Andrade, and Andrade, Roosh, and Dragon Lee as a stable, I think would be awesome. Bandito on his own would be cool because he's a lot of fun to watch. I'm trying to think. Those would be the main ones. I'm sure there's more I'm not thinking of. Shane Taylor, I think, is awesome. Shane Taylor, the Righteous are really cool. I don't know if the Righteous would fit in AEW, but they'd be a cool like one-off or whatever. Shane Taylor on his own or with Shane Taylor Promotions would be cool. I mean, Ring of Honor has a lot of six-man tag team matches, and if they establish six-man tag team titles, they would be perfect for that. Honestly, I would love to see AEW pick up Ring of Honor six-man tag team titles. Ring of Honor wasn't really doing much with that, but in AEW, they could really use something like that right now. At Thomas_B96 from Twitter, his question was, if you could pick any wrestling personnel to do a podcast with, whether it be a one-off interview or a regular one, who would it be and why? It's a good question. Two totally different things, though, to do a podcast with someone every week and then just to do an interview with them. So I've already interviewed CM Punk. Him and Regal were like my top two, and I was able to actually do both of them within like a week of each other. No joke. Like around WrestleMania time, it just so happened to work out where I think I got Cena to talk about Wipeout that week, Mania week. I got Punk to talk about a movie that was coming out that week, and I got Regal to talk about TakeOver that week. So I literally got all three of them within the span of 7 days. It was like the craziest week ever. But I would love to do like a recurring podcast. This will never happen. But like with a Punk or a Regal, really pick apart their brains. And even if it was like one of those Conrad Thompson podcasts where like he just goes down their careers and has them talk about it, hey, that to me would be the dream. That'll never happen, but it would be cool. As far as a one-off interview, I think I had this question. I think Alexis actually asked me this a couple of months ago, about 6 or 7 months ago, like my dream interviews. Excuse me. Like my, wish list or whatever for interviews. The Rock is probably number one. Christopher Lloyd is my number one non-wrestling related interview, along with Tony Shalhoub for his work on Monk, with one of my favorite shows of all time. But like wrestling related, Rock is probably my number one. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but you never know. You never know. I would love to get The Rock at some point. I think The Rock, if he had the time to do a regular podcast, would be awesome. But yeah, Rock, Orton, just to pick his brain a little bit. I saw him on Broken Skull Sessions, but I don't know, just to talk to Orton would be cool. Batista, I've always wanted to talk to. Undertaker, that's more of a possibility now that he's doing more interviews, but he has nothing to promote, so I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, again, crazier things have happened. I've actually gotten a chance, or I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that just, it didn't work out. Like I was offered an opportunity and it fell through. More people than I can probably remember right now, and none I'll probably share at the current moment. But like a lot of wrestling personalities, Hall of Famers, some with like some checkered past, so to speak, that it just wouldn't have been smart to run it. And you got to put that stuff in front, in front of running an article. Like if it's gonna not upset people, but like if this is someone that people really don't like and they're problematic, you can't do an interview with them. Like, for example, never got an opportunity to talk to him, nor would I want to. I think I talked to him on a conference call years ago, but Alberto Del Rio. The guy is just, he's toxic. You know what I mean? As far as, like, no one would want to talk to him. He's got a lot of shit going on right now. I saw him doing interviews with people a couple of months ago. Why the fuck would you want to help this guy promote anything? He seems like a piece of shit. You know what I mean? So that stuff's you got to consider that stuff as well. So that kind of prevented me from talking to a few people, which I totally understood and understood that 100%. Other things were just scheduling conflicts and got changed and didn't have time or whatever. But hopefully at some point I get to talk to all the people I just mentioned, Rock and Batista and Orton and Taker and Christopher Lloyd, among other people. Those are still my wrestling, or Matt Hardy as well. Matt Hardy I feel like would be a great person to do like an interview with, or not only an interview, but like a regular podcast with. That'll never happen, but as a one-off interview, that's still probably one of my number one interviews, is Matt Hardy, just because of the influence he's had on me personally. So hopefully at some point we get to make that happen. At E138 from Twitter, have you heard about Bryan Danielson's comment that he felt he could sleepwalk through his WWE matches? I did not see that. That would make sense. That would tell me that he felt very comfortable in WWE. It was a formula by the end there. And the funny thing about that was that he was still having awesome matches even at the end. Like, I remember, I will never forget what he said coming out of WrestleMania. He was interviewed by someone, maybe BT Sport or whatever, and he said he felt detached from WrestleMania 37 and that he didn't love the match and he just felt like something was off for him at Mania. And that match was awesome. That was one of my favorite matches all year. So for him to say that about that match really spoke volumes. And he said he doesn't have that problem currently in AEW. Like, every match is different. Every opponent is different. They give him more creative freedom. He's literally wrestling every single week, which is cool to see. So I could totally believe that when he says that he could sleepwalk through his WWE matches. I'm sure he could sleepwalk and be on autopilot for his promos too. Because a lot of what we see in WWE is so formulaic, and it's a lot of the same stuff, and they do things the same way every single week. I could totally understand why he would feel that way. His next question, push, repackage, release, Cesaro, John Morrison, and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's been a while since we've done a push, release, and repackage. This is a good one to do it with. Who would I push, repackage, and release? It's a good question. Oh, man. I feel like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Of the three, I feel like Morrison is never going to get to like the world title picture. I could put Cesaro in the title picture tomorrow, and, like, it would be something new. Not that Morrison in the title picture wouldn't be new, but, like, he's closer, I think, to the end of his career than he is Cesaro and Nakamura. And Morrison was just there for a long time before he came back, so I would probably regretfully release John Morrison. Maybe, I don't know, maybe push Nakamura, because I feel like he's so popular that if you wanted to give him another shot towards the world title, you could, and now would be the time. The fact that Roman is champion, though, kind of hurts it, because I don't see Nakamura beating Roman Reigns. He's been booked like shit lately. He's getting pinned every fucking week as Shinsuke Nakamura. But I would like to see him get pushed towards the main event again. It's been years. It's worth a shot. He's popular enough to make it work, so I would like to see that happen. And I guess that would mean repackaging Cesaro. In what way, I don't know. Maybe putting him on Raw. Turning him heel, I wouldn't do. I feel like he's perfect on his own as a babyface. He's like prime Cesaro right now, but he just doesn't have the creative storyline support. That's the problem. So if they really try to tweak some things with him, maybe give him a mouthpiece or whatever, that would be perfect. But repackage Cesaro, push Nakamura, release Morrison. That was a good one, though. Those are three very good choices. The next question, also from at E13A. The following 5 people are the only people to have beaten Adam Page one-on-one in AEW. How would you rank them in terms of interest as an AEW championship program, both storyline and as a pay-per-view main event match? Chris Jericho, Pac, MJF, Kenny Omega, and Brian Cage. That's a great question. I love when they go back to like, oh, I beat you 6 months ago, and now that you're world champion, let's do it again. I like that a lot. Like, for example, Brian Cage I think he was the first person to beat Adam Page since Full Gear of last year. And that was earlier this year. Adam Page has rarely lost this year. Excuse me, my voice is going today. But Brian Cage was one of the people to beat him. And that was back in April. So the thing with that, though, is that they had some very good matches. I love the Double or Nothing match they had. But Brian Cage has done absolutely nothing since then. They broke him off from Team Taz. He's lost a lot, so he would easily be last. I mean, Brian Cage and Adam Page in a pay-per-view main event at this point is laughable because Cage has not even been on the show in recent weeks. So I feel like when his contract comes up, he might not stay, or they might not re-sign him because it's clear they just do not have any real path for him on the show. So he would be number 5. Jericho would be cool to revisit just in terms of like, I beat you to become the first champion. I know I can beat you again. You got to overcome me to really solidify yourself as champion. The thing is, though, I don't want to see that as a pay-per-view main event. I don't. And they had a very good match back at All Out, but the match would be way worse now. Jericho has lost a step in the ring considerably since then. And even then, he wasn't, on his A game, but he was still having better matches back in 2019 than he was 2021. The guy's over 50 years old now. So I'd probably put Jericho as like a TV main event. They got to revisit that at some point. But to me, that's not pay-per-view main event worthy. Pac and Page also is not pay-per-view main event worthy, but at least I know the match would be better. That to me feels like a TV match, but Pac would be number 3. Omega would be 2 just because we just saw it. So they could always do a rematch of Revolution, and maybe he kicks out of the One-Winged Angel there. I'd be totally okay with that. But the match I would really love to see, I think we will see, and at some point, we're going to at some point in the next couple of months, is MJF. And like you said, those are the only 5 people to have beaten Page. I think, Page beat Cage. He got his win back over Cage. He got his win back over Omega. He got his win back over Pac. Jericho and MJF are the only 2 people of those 5 that he's never beaten. MJF beat him to win the Diamond Dallas ring. The Diamond Dozen ring, or whatever the fuck it's called, 2 years ago. So they can bring that up. I think that'd be perfect. And MJF, I think, should be the one to beat Adam Page. Like, he gets his win back over all these other people, but he can't beat MJF. That, to me, would be perfect. So, MJF at number 1. I feel like the match would be great. MJF and Darby fucking killed it on Saturday. I feel like the match would be great. He should beat Page. That, to me, feels like a pay-per-view main event match. So does Omega, but we just saw it, and we've already seen it once before from Full Gear last year. So you can go back to that right away, but it doesn't interest me as much as an MJF Adam Page program. So MJF at number 1, Omega at 2, Pac at 3, Jericho at 4, and Brian Cage 5. And then the last question of the day, also from at E13A, have you heard about Tony Khan's comments regarding how he hasn't received enough credit for helping NWA when NWA Empower happened? Yeah, I saw the whole, I don't know if controversy is the right word, but I saw the whole situation from the media call last week. I think what people really had an issue with wasn't really his comments, although that was part of it. He just sounded like, I need someone to pat me on the back. Listen, I totally get it. If he wanted credit from NWA because he did really help them out by putting his talent on the show, which I honestly feel like he should have done anyway, because NWA was very lenient in letting them use Thunder Rosa for as long as they did. If they didn't let them use Thunder Rosa, she might not be in AEW right now. So that was really nice of Tony Khan, or of Billy Corgan to do. So I think at the very least, they should have repaid them back by giving them Women for Empower. My personal opinion. But the NWA, if they had an understanding where NWA would shout him out on the show, thank Tony Khan, and they didn't do that, that's a problem. But just the way he was explaining it, he sounded like a whiny bitch, and I understand, I totally get it, but just the way that he came across with that just sounded weird. The whole answer he came across like an asshole for. I think what people really were bothered by from that conference call was how he dismissed the woman that asked the question. She had asked the question, and he cut her off. I think she was done anyway. I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't matter. Like, he was like, let me cut you off there. And he tried to, I don't want to say mansplain, but he tried to explain to her, and he didn't even answer the question. He's talking about Empower and all this other shit. All she literally said was, at some point, would you consider an all-women's pay-per-view? Not, are you planning to do one next month? That's not what she said. If you listen to the call, she said, would you consider doing one at some point? And the answer would be yes. But he's like, I've taken all these strides to improving the women's division. It sounded like he was taking the comments from fans about their women's division isn't where it should be to heart, and he was whining about that, even though that wasn't the question. If she had asked, what are you doing to improve your women's division? That would be a dumb question, because they've already shown that what they're doing to improve it. He's explained. That would be a silly question. I feel like what she asked wasn't that egregious, and his response was just unjustified. So at least the way that he answered, he sounded like an asshole. So I'm glad, apparently, according to what she said, he reached out to her privately and apologized. So that was nice. But at any rate, that's going to do it, guys, for this episode of hashtag AskGSM for Wednesday. I almost forgot what show it is. Hashtag AskGSM for November 17, 2021, episode 416 here today. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the show. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Also, be sure to send in a question if you would like here to the show by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, be sure to check out my interview with Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche from the other day. They were awesome. Booker T from last week. And coming up this week, the cast of Psych 3, This Is Gus, and Drew McIntyre, and Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion. Lot to look forward to, guys. All stuff you will enjoy, I promise you. Have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.